Good Monday morning. We're talking a little bit quiet because it is 7:30 local time. We're off down to sample the hotel's breakfast. And Chelle's. There's the view of the. Only got half the lights on the wheel. Let's go and get some breakfast. Good morning guys, we're here today, this morning. We are here to explore. You can see the rockets in the background. We're at NASA. And the famous words spoken by John F. Kennedy. Governed by a hostile flag, but a banner of freedom and peace. So we're about to go and explore. Brave new worlds to boldly go.
Where plenty of people have gone before.
And if I could remember any more of the words, I would use them, but I can't, so I'm not going to. But yes, we're at NASA. And what we're going to do, before we get into NASA, is get some coffee from the grab and go. Because I'm really thirsty. Hey guys, just like you know, through security here, it's probably about a minute, 2 minutes maximum. Not too much of a problem. And you can come in straight into the rocket garden.
Anybody here is not with the Florida Dolphin Tour. This is a private group. So if you're not with the Florida Dolphin Tour, you can just continue up the ramp. For everybody else, good morning. Once again, my name is Stephen. I'm a communicator, which is a fancy name for tour guide here at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. And I want to welcome you to Space Shuttle Atlantis. The most common question we're asked is it real? Yes, it is the real Space Shuttle Orbiter Atlantis, 33 missions into space. These out here are not real. They're exact size replicas, but Atlantis and almost everything inside is real. In just a moment, we're going to go up the ramp to watch 2 short films about the history of the shuttle program. If anybody has problems using the ramp, the other option you have is over here we have an elevator. You can just press number 3, and that will open up in the first theater. If we're not there, just wait. We'll be there in a few minutes. So for everybody else, we'll go up the ramp to watch 2 short films about the history of the shuttle program. Together they take about 12 minutes. After that, the curtain will open and you will see Atlantis. Take a few minutes to get your pictures. I'll make an announcement when I'm ready to do your walking tour. The walking tour takes about 15 minutes. Once we're done, we'll be behind Atlantis and Red will rejoin us and he'll take you for the rest of the day. So any questions before we begin? Well, the first film begins once every 8 minutes. If we're lucky, we walk straight in. If it's my usual luck, I have to talk for 8 minutes. So let's head up the ramp and see where we are. When we use the phrase space shuttle, most people think we're talking about the white space plane on the front. Actually, all of this is the space shuttle. The white space plane on the front is called the orbiter, or orbiter vehicle. The crew rides at the top in the cockpit, that's called the flight deck, and the cargo is beneath that in the payload bay. The orbiter is attached to the orange tank, or ET. Inside the orange external tank are 2 smaller tanks, one with liquid oxygen and one with liquid hydrogen. Both are super cold liquids. 6.6 seconds before launch, the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen flow through pipes that connect from the tank into the bottom of the orbiter and out the 3 space shuttle main engines down at the bottom. Now we said it's liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. What do you get when you put oxygen and hydrogen together? H2O? Water. It's just water vapor coming out. The deep, dark, dirty secret is those are 3 steam engines. Don't tell anybody. So if you can see anything at the bottom, it's just water vapor coming out. So you see 3 little tiny white blue flames, that's just water vapor coming out. If all goes well, we get down to T-0, and that's when we light the 2 white solid rocket boosters, or SRBs, on either side. Those are filled with a solid fuel, which means that once we light them, there's no way to turn them off. They're like firecrackers. They're going to burn until they're empty. They burn for 2 minutes into the flight. When they're empty, they separate from the orange external tank. Parachutes come out of the top. They fall back into the Atlantic Ocean where they're retrieved by ships and they're brought back to Cape Canaveral so they can be used again. The orange external tank remains connected to the orbiter for 8.5 minutes into the flight. By then we're at an altitude of 70 miles or 110 kilometers above the Indian Ocean. Way too high for the tank to survive re-entry. When it separates from the orbiter, it breaks apart and burns up in the atmosphere. So the orbiter, the orange external tank, and the white solid rocket boosters comprise the space shuttle. What you see outside the window here are exact size replicas. They go up 183 feet or 55 meters. Now your tickets include a free bus tour to the Apollo Saturn V Center. When you get there, you're going to see a fully restored spare Saturn V moon rocket. That's twice the height of this, 363 feet or 110 meters. So imagine another one of these on top of that, and that gets you the height of the Saturn V moon rocket. Any questions? Any questions that take 4 minutes and 6 seconds to answer? All right, well, while we're waiting, let's use the picture on the wall to answer another common question we're asked, which is why did the space shuttle program come to an end? Basically, the reason is that when they designed this in the early 1970s, they made a conscious decision to combine people with cargo, which meant they were spending a lot of money to make cargo safe for people, but it also meant the ship was too heavy to sit on the top like the capsules did. It had to be mounted on the side. Mounting it on the side had two unintended consequences. One being is that you had no effective escape system, because if you punch out, you're going to go sideways and all the flames are going to come up underneath you. So when we lost Challenger on January 28 of 1986, when the big orange tank blew up, there was no place for them to go. Also, when you're mounted on the side, you're exposed to falling debris throughout the entire history of the program. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Good morning. Welcome to the Space Shuttle Atlantis. In just a few minutes, the doors will open and you will enter into a 12-minute presentation. While inside our theaters, we ask that you refrain from eating, drinking, cell phone use, the use of flash photography, or video lighting. Please note that portions of this presentation can be quite loud and may not be suitable for all guests. After viewing Atlantis, we invite you to join our team on the ground floor of the Shuttle Launch Experience Simulator, where you can see and feel for yourself what it's like to blast off into space.
So as I was saying, throughout the entire history of the program, from the very beginning until the very end, we had incidents during launch where pieces of the insulating orange foam on the tank or pieces of the white boosters would fall off and hit the orbiter at launch time. When Columbia launched January 16th of 2003, a piece of the insulating orange foam fell off and it hit the front of the left wing, punching a hole about the size of a bowling ball. So when Columbia re-entered the atmosphere on February 1st, 2003, all the heat and flame went through the hole and melted the aluminum airframe inside. As Columbia passed over Texas at an altitude of 40 miles, going 13,000 miles an hour, the left wing fell off. The orbiter spun around and tore itself apart. As a result, in August 2003, the investigation board issued a report in which they said in their exact words, the shuttle is a complex and risky system. We might have considered retiring it then, but we needed it to finish the space station. So in January 2004, it was announced we would fly the shuttle again, but only to complete construction of the space station. Crew rotations moved over to the Russian Soyuz because it was safer and cheaper. Once we finished the station, we would retire the shuttle. When we finished the station in May 2011, that's why the shuttle program came to an end. But they also told us in 2004, once we reached that point, we'd take a pause to upgrade the Space Center for new programs. So when you go on your bus tour, you'll see some of the renovations underway. Some of our new programs are already flying. For over 4 years, we've had robotic cargo ships that deliver cargo to the space station. One made a delivery yesterday, so we no longer risk lives to deliver cargo like we did with shuttles. And we have two companies, Boeing and SpaceX, working on new capsules for taking people to and from the space station, and their first test flights with people should be around the end of next year. They're starting to go into the theater right now, so we'll pick up on that when we get in later in the tour.
We need a better safety margin. The crew can tolerate a short-term increase, but...
Engineering? Morning, Betty. What, right now? Building 36?
I didn't even know there was a building 36. Must be important. Everyone's here. We got propulsion, aerothermal, flight dynamics.
Anyone know why we're here?
for this. Good morning. We're going to create America's next spacecraft. It's going to launch like a rocket and land like an airplane, and it's going to be reusable.
Can't do that with a rocket.
It's not a rocket, it's a shuttle.
Now it's time to go to the next step. Sketch pad to launch pad. Going to the moon was a camping trip. Now our job is to work and live in space. This vehicle has to do something that we have never done before. Perform 4 key tasks and be able to do them over and over again. There is nothing easy about putting a ship back up into space, let alone a whole fleet of ships. But first, let's talk about the launch. We have never designed engines and vehicles that can be reused. But we will, and once we're in orbit, we go to work. We want to take all kinds of cargo up there in addition to the people. Science labs, satellites, even a space station. And when all the work is done, we gotta bring everybody back home. All right now, country's waiting. Let's build ourselves a space shuttle.
It's too big, it's too heavy, but we're launching one spaceship on the back of an even bigger one.
What if we split the booster into its pieces? Rockets, fuel tank.
It's supposed to be reusable. How do we get all those parts home?
What if we just throw the fuel tank away?
We're writing all new processes, procedures, manuals. We've never had to reuse a ship before.
We're also going to have to build some really big garages.
Sir, what if she lands somewhere other than Florida? How does she get back here? It's a glider.
Buy her a plane ticket home.
Ablative heat shields are heavy, and they burn up on re-entry. We need a more reusable solution. Silica foam tires, thousands of them, fitted together in one lightweight, reusable heat shield.
Another hold up with the engines? Tell me some good news with the tiles.
The heat shield bond keeps failing. The tiles keep falling off.
So another delay. How long? How long?
1.5 to 2 years.
Well, this is going to be fun to tell my boss. Everybody get back to work.
let you know when they come home.
The President's message said, you go forward this morning on a daring enterprise, and you carry the hopes and prayers of all Americans with you. And astronaut John Young, the commander of the mission, replied, that's a right fine speech. We sure appreciate it.
This launch of Columbia marks NASA's first manned test flight ever flown into space with people on board.
phenomenal, isn't it?
Okay guys, I'm going to break this video up here. Just at least, when I put this video together, it ran into about 40 minutes, and I think that's too long. But that's how long it's taken to actually show you everything about the Atlantis exhibition there, or present, whatever. So I'm going to split it up here and put it up in 2 parts. So with that, it's a good night from me, and it's a good night from Michelle, who's actually out in town. Come back for the second part.